All right, it's the next video here, and like I said before, I'm going to go ahead and continue building our Windows form here. Um, we stopped at adding the items to our data table, and so from this point forward, since when we started our application up, it goes through and instantiates a DAO object, and then it creates a data table based on this method that we used over in our DAO class to create a new table. So over here, what we can also do, we can kind of kill two birds with one stone also. Another thing we're going to need is we're going to need a container to, it's easier to use a model. And what a model is basically a container of properties or a class that has properties in it that contain your data. It's easier to do that than and move that into the table than it is to go and alter the actual table and risk altering data in a table that you don't need to. So one of the things we're going to do now is we're going to right click on our project, say add folder. We're going to call that folder models. Double click on it. Oh, sorry. Say add class, and we're going to call this data model. Let's not call it data model. We'll call it list model. It's our grocery list model. All right. We're going to make this a public class. And in this public class, we're going to create our four properties. To do that, just type out the word prop, P-R-O-P, hit tab a couple of times. And the first one we're going to do is a string. And it's going to be item, price. Hit enter a couple of times. Ooh. Prop. Next one's going to be a decimal. And it's going to be item price. This is item name. That's item price. This is going to be a short. Item quantity. And then this one's going to be a Boolean. Taxable. Like that. And then, yeah, we'll leave it that way. So then, what we're going to do over here in our main form, up here, is, what do we want to do there? Yeah, we'll leave that that way. So in our add form, what we're going to do is we're going to store our item that we're going to collect from our user interface into a model, and then we're going to move that model after we've done some validation on it into our table. So let's start that up there. So we're going to say var model equals new list model at the top. And then to make sure that we don't have any errors, we're going to put a try catch block here. What that does is allows us to handle any exceptions that come up based on input from a specific person. We want to have this called EX because we have a handler up here and it's called E already. So we can do this one of two ways. We can put all of our logic in this click, or we can create a worker method down here in our worker methods. And I think that's what I'm going to do. Add item. All right. And what we're going to do, well, let's make this a Boolean. And we're going to pass in, we're going to parameterize this method so that it is something that we can pass a model into. So what we're going to do is we're going to call list model, and we're going to pass a model into this. And this is where we're going to call our DAO add record method. And then we'll probably need to pass in a model here. So that means we need to change the signature of our DAO method over here and say add a model item list model, and then up here we need to make it match, not there, here. And we probably want to make this Boolean. So that we can say, did it pass or did it fail? And we'll need to return something here. So it's not barking at us. We need to do the same thing over here too. Something like that. And actually in our try catch, let's move our try catch down to here. And put it in here. Oop, not there, there. And then say, if there's an exception, we don't want to pass it. We want it to fail. Oh, alrighty. We'll do something with this exception too. So in our model, what we want to do is we want to collect the data that comes from the user interface. But before we throw it in there into our table, we need to check to make sure that it's valid data. We need to make sure that the strings are strings. We need to make sure that numbers are numbers, that are decimals and all kind of stuff. And our checkbox is going to be fairly easy to handle. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some validation on our data first that we enter. So our first text box is called item name, and the text property is what we want to get. So we need to make sure, or we want to make sure that there's no special characters in there, let's say like question marks and periods and all that kind of stuff. So a good way to do that is to do a regex or a regular expression. I didn't do this on the previous one that I have. I wish I had. And we can just Google that and say regex C# for no special characters, like that. And so they've even got, now Stack Overflow, I'll tell you right now, it's a great place to go as long as you're not asking a question. I can get kind of snooty over here. But what you can do is you can grab information here that tells you if it's good or not. So this kind of explains how regular expressions works. I suck at regular expressions, full disclosure. So I'm just putting that out there right now. But what a regular expression is it looks at a string of data and it sees that if it matches a pattern. So let's say you only want letters in a regular expression. You can write your regular expression to only accept letters in that particular field or property in your text property. And then it will return a Boolean value to you saying true or false. And you can conditionalize after that, and you can make that a validation, piece of validation for your form. So instead of an explanation in here, all I want is a regular expression here that just gives me um, no special characters. So this says valid characters, alphabets, numbers, and space. So that's what we want. So let's grab, that's JavaScript one. We want C#. Because I'm not trying to do any allowing spacing but not special character. There we go. There we go. This is what I want right there. Copy that. And let's make a regex here. What do I want to do that at? Oh, okay. So let's see. Model item name equals item name dot text. Now what we can do, we can say if, now we'll have to make a new regex. Rx equals new reg x, and we'll put the pattern in there. We got to double escape those. I don't think that's gonna work. This is why I don't like these. You gotta always escape character special. You gotta escape backslashes in C#. No special characters for C#. Let's just use this one here. Copy that one. And let's use this one here. That might work better. I don't know if that's right or not. We'll test it. We'll test it. Now we can say if rx.is, if rx.isMatch, and we want to put item name text in there. So if it matches that string, let me make sure, yeah. And actually, let's do it this way. Yeah, there we go. So if it matches that string, then we want to move that in there. I may have that a little bit backwards here. The regex, it can be a little confusing at times if you're not set up. Uh-oh, got an issue. It doesn't like something in here. We've got a button called add item already in here. So let's go look in here. That's add item. Load, lift, it must be on one of the other forms here. Let's go back to our error list. Mail form, main form designer. It's in our designer. Well, shoot the boot. Add item. Oh, wait. We have a method called add item, I think, don't we? Yep. Well, let's just rename that then, shall we? Add items. Save, rebuild. I tell you, one little thing can do it. One little thing can do it. Yeah, one little thing can do it. So let's do this again. So let's see, where were we at? Okay, yeah, we were gonna add that item. So we're gonna click start. And let's try it. Let's say Del Monte. Let's say add. If it matches, then it skips. So I don't think that matched. It did match. Okay, so we want to do if it's not a match. Yeah, yeah. Trying to think out loud here, and it's getting late. Del Monte, 1, 2, 3 P's, something like that, right? Say click add. So we have Del Monte 1, 2, 3 P's. Now, if we go through and we say Del Monte 1, 2, 3 P's, like that, that should fail because it's got a special character in it. I don't know, I like that too. I didn't think that was going to be a special character. Let's try one more. Let's put a question mark in it. Will that work? Yeah, something's not right there. It shouldn't be working. Yeah, it should be excluding those. Let's go back to our explanation here. Add a space. A good expression will match any character. You could change your statement to this. Okay, this is one we want right here. We want that right there. Let's change that to this. Save that. Now let's try. Uh-oh. Ugh. These escape sequences are... Oh. You gotta put a double quote there. Okay. Let's try that. Say add 10, 10, 10, 10. Nope. So that added, and it said if it's not a match. Okay. Now let's add a special character. P's. P's. There we go. So what we're doing is if it matches this, if it has this special character in there, let's actually try that again. Del Monte 2, 3 P's. Let's see if that one works. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. So let me explain what this is doing. So it's going through when it gets to this line here, and it's saying, does my text match this particular regular expression pattern where I am looking for anything that's a capital A through a Z or lowercase a through a Z or anything that's numbers 0 through 9 and spaces. If I don't see any of that in there, then I don't want to. If it doesn't match that, then I want to bypass it. What I'm doing here is I'm saying if this is not, so this is a comparison operator, or a logical operator, I should say. This is not equal to a match in my text field, and it bypasses it. So that's what I want that to do. So this is a bit of validation here on item name. So now what I can do is I can say else message box okay, so I had to give some instruction on the back. Okay, so I'm going to message box dot show, and what we're going to do is we're going to say in here, we're going to say you cannot have special characters. Please try again. And then we're going to hit return, because we don't want to keep processing this particular method if that validation fails. So let's see. I'm going to put my breakpoint down here. Say start. Try a Del Monte. 1, 2, 3 P's. Click add. And now it says you can't have special characters. Please try again. If I hit F10, it skips out of my logic, and it just says, hey, you can't do that, buddy. Yep, I want to exit. Okay, so now, since I'm doing that up here, and what I can actually do is move all of this logic here down into my method down here. There we go. Now I don't have to do this aspect of it. And instead of saying return, I say false. There. And actually, I'm right. I don't have to do a Boolean value there. And I'll do that there. Like that. And instead of doing this, I'll say there was an exception in the record. There. Now, I said the exceptions is we're going to be used. So this EX is the exception, and I can grab the message or the stack trace out of that exception like that, and I can use it that way. So I'm handling the exception. And I need to take that and put that up there, because that resets all my fields there. And then what I need to do is do all of the validation on the item that I'm inserting. So let's make a region, and we're going to call it validation, and we'll just move it into there. And then we can minimize that, something like that. All right, so now I have to give some instruction there. So now, oh, what was I doing here? Am I started here? Yes. So now, I can create my validation for all of my records here, or for all of my properties here. So I just copy this logic. All right, so let's see here. So we're going to copy this. We're not going to do this logic each time because it's going to be different for each of our fields. So we've got our text. The next field we're going to do, so this is going to be our item name. Oh, excuse me, this one's going to be our item price. Now we're going to do something slightly different on this one. Our item price as we collect it is a string variable with a dollar sign, three in numbers and a decimal point. But what we want to do is we need the individual to type in the item as if it were money. Oh, I got a bill to pay. As it were money. So let's do a regex with that too. So let's say regex C# with money, something like that, or currency. Let's see, regex for currency and amount. So this is what we want, something like this, right? So here's another regex we can use. Let's make sure that's C# though, and that was 5 years ago. And let's click the demo if it's still up and running. So we want, I think, we don't want PHP though. I want it in C#. Leave that page. I want a C# one, specifically for C#. Nope, we don't want commas. That seems a bit much. And let's get something in the last year. Not what I want. I want C#. C# regex. That's regex class. Currency. C. Currency. It's not going to give us one easily, is it? Okay, so let's do Indian currency. Regex for decimal number up to 2 places. Let's see if this one is it here. I'm not worried about all that. What the heck is all this? Regex for currency symbol. All currency symbols. What is this? Never heard of that. Oh, that's just symbols. Okay. So for decimal, for currency, C#. Let's see if this one's here. I do not want a third-party library. I'm probably glossing over one. I want one that's going to be um, right out in front. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Oh, actually, that'll work too. We'll use this one here. Okay. We're not going to use a regex. We are going to use a try parse. We're going to use a try parse anyway. So what try parse is it's a method and what it does is it looks at a Boolean value. It creates a Boolean value. It takes a string variable and it tries to create a decimal with it. If it doesn't create the decimal, then it returns a false for the Boolean value. And let me demonstrate that. If decimal try parse, we're going to say item price text dot text, and we're going to say out decimal price. And so the way that works is if this condition is true, it will output a field called price. And then what we do is we just move our decimal value of price into our item price field. If not, then we can say you must enter a decimal value. Give them an example, e.g. 1.75. Please try again. And let me comment this out, comment that out real quick, and say start. And what's going to happen is I'm going to put in an actual value, 123 P's, 1275. Let me click that there. I want to click add. Doesn't like something there. Well, let's go up here. Add. Uh-oh. So it ain't liking something there. Okay. Let's try that again. Let's rebuild our code here. Sometimes Visual Studio doesn't get froze up on you. You just restart it, but it says that rebuilt all succeeded. Del Monte 1, 2, 3 P's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Add. Uh-oh. It ain't liking something here. Well, the reason why is we're not calling our function, our method, add item. Like this. There we go. That'll work. And let's see here. And we'll say Del Monte 2, 3 P's 1275, and we click add. There we go. So it goes through our authentication for that. And now what's going to happen is it's going to try to take the text that's in this field here, this 1275, and treat it like a decimal. This is going to pass because it's a decimal. So it takes our 1275 and it puts it in there. So we're good to go. Now, what we need to do, however, though, is what happens if they put a quantity of 4 at 1275. So we'll need to parse out our quantity first and then take the quantity and the price and multiply price by quantity first. So we need to do another try parse. We'll copy that. Instead of it being a decimal try parse, will be a short try parse, and it's going to be item quantity dot text out short quantity. This is going to be model dot item quantity. This will be quantity, like so. Now the cool thing about it is, since we've created this quantity, we can use that field down here now as well. But first, let's fix our validation here. You must enter a valid quantity. Please try again. And then down here, we're going to say price times quantity, like that. So if we have 2 at $2, we should see $4 in there. So let's try it and see what happens here. So let's say Del Monte 1, 2, 3 P's for $2, and we're going to make it a quantity of 2. Say add. So we have a quantity of 2 at $2. So when we get done with that, it should be $4. Boom, there we go. We did the math on that already. Here my daughter's in there playing. And we'll mark this one quantity. And then last but not least, item taxable. And this one's a lot easier because it's a Boolean value. it can only be true or false. And so since it's only going to be true or false, then what we're going to do is we're going to say item model taxable equals item or taxable dot checked. No, not text changed. Checked. So whatever taxable is, we're going to set our model to that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to uncomment this. The other thing we need to do is put that return up there as well. And say, no, we'll make this a Boolean value. And up here, we'll say ret value false. And so what that's going to do is we're going to, if we'll say true, actually, and where it's false, or where we need it to be false, we'll do it this way. Hey Jay, get the stuff that you need to, my dear. Okay, so now down here, we're going to say equals false, and we're going to say return ret val, like this, and ret val is going to stay true. And then in here, what we're going to do, need to move that down in there. And so then we're going to take, we've got our model, and we're going to move our model into our data record and add into our table. If we have any kind of an exception, what's going to happen is it's going to give our value a false, and then we'll return a false over here. And then up here, what we can do is we can do some handling of our item here under our add item. Click there. Excuse me. Let's minimize that too. So let's start stepping through. We'll put a breakpoint there. Save that. Say start. And we're going to add the entire item. And actually, let's do it this way. Instead of it being that way, because we don't want to continue executing code that we don't need to. We're going to say return false, like this. Like this. There we go. So if any of these happen, it'll fall out of the condition. So let's start our logic. We'll say test 1, test 1. And that will actually pass because we've got zeros in there. So that would validate. So let's say 12, 10, 75, quantity of 5, and we'll say add. So if we hover over our model, we've got our test 1 for $53.75 with a quantity of 5, and the item is a taxable item. If I hit F11, then I will go through, and we've got our existing record here, and then what we would need to do is we need to add rows to our table. Let me check my time over here. 42 minutes. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to pass in our data table. DT. And then what we'll do is for the data table, we're going to say rows, add. We'll actually do it this way. We need to create a new. She's fine, baby. She just needs to be not so loud. We need to make a new data row equals new data row, and then let's do it this way. DT add row. We need to do it this way. Data row. Don't get through that, dear. Equals row dot add rows. I can't remember how I did that. All right, let me go over to my notes here. Look at my DAO DT new row. There we go. DT new row. So now we're going to take these columns here, and you'll want to copy that and keep it handy. And we're going to say row, we're going to say row, item name, and then like I did over here, we're going to set that to our model. Item name, row, item price equals our model, item price, row, item quantity equals model, item quantity, and then row, taxable equals model, taxable. And then what we need to do is we need to add that row to our data table. So we need to say dt rows add row. And if that works, then what we'll do, what'll happen is, we'll do a try over here. Try Regex. That goes up here. Shh, AJ. Shh, quiet down some, baby. So if it works, then we return a true. If it doesn't work, we return a false. Like that. EX. We won't worry about the message box. Get rid of the exception there. So if it up, so we've got an error, and we've got to make this app DAO match that add record boolean. So we need to also pass in a data table, dt, like that. That should go away, and it does. Go over to the list model. Oh, not there. Sorry. Go over to main form there. Pass in item data. That's our data table and the model. And I'll say rebuild this. And I'll say start. Del Monte. 1, 2, 3 P's. 175 a can for quantity of 8 cans. Say add. So we've got our price, our quantities, and all that good stuff. And we'll hit F11 to navigate and to get into our logic in our app.dal class. We've added a row to our table. And now if we look in the item data table, we should have one row in our table. If we go down to rows, we've got our one row. Click results, and we can see if we go to the array, there's our data in our table. So in the next lesson, what we'll do, and then what's going to happen is after we've put our stuff in our data table, it goes through and it reinitializes our fields, returns true, and we're ready to go. We've reinitialized our fields to zeros and stuff like that. Now, the next lesson, what we'll do is we'll populate our data view over here so we can see what we've entered into our table. So until next time, study up, pray up, and make sure you register to vote. Peace.